What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Be the Trader. Today, I have a very special guest, Peter Skalon. Peter is a trader with 7 Points Capital. He's been trading with them for about 18 months, and he was highly recommended to me by Stan, which if you haven't listened to that episode, Stan from 7 Points, that's a previous episode. Go check that one out. But Stan mentioned, hey, you know what? You need to reach out to Peter. So here's Peter. Welcome to the show, my man. I'm glad to have you.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Absolutely, man. So, Stan talked really highly of you. I asked him, I was like, is there anybody else out there who I should be interviewing? He goes, Peter. So I was like, awesome. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad I'm be able to learn a little bit more about you. So you've been with them for about 18 months. Can you tell us a little bit, so let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your story, like what got you into trading?
Okay, so as usual, it was a girl. Like 2 years, a little bit like maybe like 3 years ago, I met a girl, and at this point, I was in Chicago, and she was in Miami, and we just realized there was a time to change something, and I moved to Miami, and I quit my job. I was a project manager with the web agency, but at this point, it felt like it has to be something new, something different. So I started with crypto, but honestly, crypto was not working out like too well, and especially in all the schedule. I would wake up at like 3 a.m. to catch up a little bit Chinese markets, European markets, and then like United States. So I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I will be done, but like at say 8 p.m. And I decided to shift towards equities. So basically 2 years ago, I placed my trade on the equities side. So I decided to go smart, and I started with the SMB DNA program.
Oh, cool.
And I guess, this in a way, this SMB DNA program was my entryway to 7 Points Capital. Because after I started following different people, I started following Stan. And then after like half a year of trading on my own, I realized, I need mentorship, to be honest. I need to be around people who I will be able to learn from. And just by happy luck, like Stan moved to Florida, and I've heard his interview. So I reached out to him. First of all, I wrote really nice covering letter, and I sent my CV out to Stan. And apparently he liked it, and they, like Krishna and Stan, they interviewed me, and they just decided to give me a chance. And like last January 2019, pretty much was my first trading day, because it takes, when you join 7 Point Capital, it takes you 2 to 3 months to go like over the exams because of the brokerage license we're supposed to have. So there is always like a lag.
That makes sense. And so now you brought up something at the beginning, and that was you started off with the SMB Capital. I love those guys too. SMB Capital's training program. I think it's called is it called the DNA? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. They have different ones, but I started with SMB DNA. Yeah.
Can you tell, how was that? Did that give you a good grounding? Was there anything that you felt like you took away from that you're still using today, or is there pretty much everything? Or can you give us a little insight on that?
I mean, to be honest, I believe it is a good program, but I also believe that you need like a lot of screen time to be able to pick up what's going on there. And at that point, I did not have the screen time. So although the information was there, but I was not able to utilize it properly. So my days would be, I would have like one green day and then like 3 red days. So I mean, they have like some really good stuff, but I think it's more about, environment, being around people than the actual program itself.
And so then you joined 7 Points, right? And you're pretty much green still, right? You're still green around the edges, trying to learn, trying to get your things or bearings, or were you profitable at that point?
No, I was not profitable. And to be honest, it's been like the path was not easy, because first of all, when I joined, I was not profitable, and then you join, and then you basically grind your way out to like to being constantly profitable trader, and it takes a while, because the edge Stan was speaking about the last time, at this point it's gone. So now you basically have to like try out different things, and it takes time before you find footing. So for me, it took pretty much 9 months before I got my first net green month.
Nice. And what did you say on that after that 9 months? Was that with that old strategy that kind of went away?
No, I mean, it's basically just why it took me 9 months, because I was, trying different strategies.
And so what did you find to be, the your niche, if you will? Like what are you comfortable with when it comes to trading?
I mean, at the point, because I got lucky to be like mentored by Krishna and Stan. So I believe, I picked up a little bit from each one of them. And so I'm trying to utilize, some of the setups from Krishna's playbook, and also some like stuff from Stan's playbook. And what was really great, the guys, they were like always open about how they do this and what they are looking at. And this been like just an immense help. Because otherwise, like, to be honest, if I were on my own, even now I would not like be profitable. I would still be losing money. It's just, mentorship, it's great, it's a lot. And
Absolutely. And plus, you have two great guys, two good guys who've been on the show and who are just really cool individuals, and they trade different. And the fact that you're getting mentorship from both of them is awesome. And I'm just curious, during that 9 months,
yeah,
what was the hardest thing for you to grasp to get your consistency?
So I personally had, all the traders different, right? But I had a like massive FOMO, like insane FOMO, and like even Stan told me that he never seen a trader with like such massive FOMO. Although he has been trading, on New York desk, where like hundreds of traders come and go. So and it took like some like quite like tough stuff to get me right. And so at some point after 5 months of trading, they put me on demo for like, I don't know, maybe 10 days. So I was not allowed to trade, and like for a person who had all this massive FOMO, not being allowed to trade, they just watch and like paper trade. It was hard, it was hard. And even after this, like 2 months later, basically maybe month 6 with 7 points capital, like I guess I forgot my demo lessons, and so they lowered down my lockout for $50. And what it means, if I'm getting locked out $50, I could ask them for like $50 more, and that's it. I'm done for the day. So basically, I had to lower my risk to like $10 per trade.
Yeah, and so, do you feel like when you did that, when you had to like restrain yourself because you had a lockout number, basically what all other traders can still do that themselves. Like I have a stop loss or a max loss, right, with my broker,
Right.
where if I hit that, my broker closes out.
Right.
So when you were forced to do that, did it take you 2 times of like forcing yourself to do that to finally get over that FOMO, or do you still run into FOMO every once in a while? And if you do, how do you kind of handle it now?
These moments, they were like turning moments. Basically, they just changed something inside me. When I was forced to like sit and watch how trades go without me, it's basically it changed a lot of things. And I think it's just mentally so hard, like for many people to like accept paper trading, and nobody like retail guys, they don't want to paper trade, because it doesn't make any sense. They don't make any money, but it is the right thing to do. You have to like be able, to do this and be okay with this.
And you said you were able to sit back and see trades happen without you. Can you explain that?
Because I cannot trade, right? But I'm still in the office. But my account is locked. So I just, I see a setup I want to be in, and I want to hit it as before. I just couldn't, But it is really, a transformational experience, and I'm happy, I went through this.
Absolutely. And so once you found what you were good at, right? And help me understand. So it was 9 months, right, to find that consistency, correct?
More or less, yes, yes.
Okay. And so when you found that, did you find it difficult for yourself to start to grow, or was it pretty much easy peasy after that?
No, I think so. Basically, what's happening, what I believe happening with all the like retail traders, with the every trader who just started, like first year is about, because people say, oh, trading is about psychology. But
Yeah.
what does it mean? It's about psychology. I don't know. Like, what am I doing? It's not about psychology. The first, it's about knowing your setups. It's about knowing your edge, and it's about like knowing what you are not supposed to do. And for me, like personally, like every day I would like journal. And in the beginning, list of my mistakes was like 50 different mistakes, 70 different mistakes. And the only thing I was working on every day, I was trying to like remove these mistakes from my trading, lesser. And then, eventually when like 80% of these mistakes were gone, I finally started like, to understand what my edge is. Because before, you just don't know, you have to experiment. And I mean, like thankfully to like Stan and Krishna, I tried a lot of different things. At some point I was even like selling like Amazon like naked calls and puts like 10, 20 contracts. And it's just in real life you have to have like huge account to be able to do this. And here with some point they actually, provided me this opportunity to see, if it's a good fit for me.
Nice. And so I want to know, I like that you said you go back and you were journaling all your mistakes. And
Right.
you would start, maybe sometimes you would have 80 mistakes, and then you would slowly work on minimizing that to where you had less and less and less.
Yeah.
What were some of those mistakes that really stand out, that were just really hard to get rid of? And I know FOMO was one of them, but some of the other ones. And what did you do to I mean, because there's one thing to write it down, right? But how did you work
Right.
on it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it all comes down, to like rewatching the tape, to like printing it out, and just even like, I know one trader, he's like drawing the charts himself, so he knows what to expect, and what he wants to see. So my other mistake for some reasons, was when it starts consolidates and then it drops, and then basically you expected, to wait for like first bounce, and then it goes lower. But I like was experiencing, like so much, I don't know, FOMO or whatever. So I would just like start hitting it right away. And it took me, I don't know, like 3 months to let, the stock do its thing. And only then, start like attacking this like first bounce setup. And, for every trader, mistakes are different. Some people, they cannot like size up. Some people oversize. And I truly believe, that the art, like the craft of trading, it comes from getting rid of the mistakes first. And only then you can know, okay, I know my setup, I know what to do. And now I can focus on doing only these things.
So besides, was there, and I, it's kind of repeating the same question, but I just want to know, was there
Right.
any other mistake that stuck out to you that you wrote down constantly that you were trying to get rid of that took a little bit longer? Just curious if there's just like one other one that kind of sticks out in your mind.
I think, it's not like it's, you learn new setup, right? And then there is a new mistake comes up. For example, I was learning like SSR setups. It's like an SSR setup. It's basically when there is a bid offer, and to get in, you have to get mids, right? But you don't know like specifically which route will give you the mids. So you throw out multi. Multi, what it means, you throw out 6 different orders out, and then like some orders like starts to print on the tape, and you know that, for example, this specific route is giving you the prints, so you go bigger. But sometimes what's happening, you're getting overfilled, and instead of like having 1R, you're getting like 5R on. And while it's happening, the offer is being taken out, and you just getting like stuck with a huge size, like pretty much like 6 hours instead of 1 hour. And now you just took a loss, for 6 hours just in 1 minute. And your whole day is like, wow, why I have done this?
Yeah.
So I made like some of this, yeah.
I understand. And what's great is, first off, man, hats off to you, because we all make tons of mistakes, and the fact that you made your mistakes, you journal them, you showed how you eliminate them to find your profitability is great, because it shows a lot of people could do the same thing. Because FOMO is something we all battle, and I still deal with that to this day. I mean, there's no matter what, like you'll go weeks doing great, and then all of a sudden one day it's just like, I had FOMO and I just freaking chased everything. So I understand what you mean by that. And I would just want to know, because you mentioned R, a lot of us talk in R, like I risk 1 R to make 3 R or whatever it may be. I just want to know, like, in your perspective on when you're trading, how do you go about, like, are you thinking I need to make X amount of R every time, like 3R, 2R, 4R, or is it more of, for this setup, I expect XR. For this setup, I expect this kind of a return. For this, like, is it unique per setup, or every time you place a trade, it's strict on I need to make X? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I mean, I know some guys, they have targets and they won't, and even like I know some guys that they won't even take it off unless the target is hit. So for me, it's more, like a combination of the like tape reading and the levels, and especially, I mean, when you're sizing up, you're hitting this problem that you don't know how to size your R properly. Do I go with my full R on all the setups, or maybe I somehow like specifically, go my full R only here, or maybe there is my 1R, but when I have this setup, I'm going like 3R. So all these questions, they like very, I guess, like traders unique. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to go with like all the setups. I'm trying to go, like I'm taking starters, right? And I'm trying to find, this like see it moment. When I see it, there is like, for example, huge volume, and it couldn't go higher. It couldn't go higher. And this moment, I understand. Okay, I have to go bigger. I have to have like 2R here, and that's where I'm getting in. And at this point, if it tries to go down, but it's not going down. I will cover, because it is what it is, and we are, as a trader, we're supposed to be like trading price action. And it's nice to have follow through and everything, but it's not, it's not the case all the time. So that's how I trade. Some other guys, they just hold.
Yep.
And in the end, because they hold, like mathematical probabilities, they work out that trades where they hold the whole day, they actually get in there like 3R. So for me, if I see it's not going down, I will start like cutting it off. I will start taking it out of here.
That makes sense. And it just, so make sure I understand properly. It's, you are on a point where you'll see certain setups and you may have starters, and then when you start to get that confirmation, that slap in the moment face, where it's just like, oh my god, it's not going to go higher, right? If you're shorting, that's when you may add more size to a 2R risk, depending on the setup. And it seems like you're very specific on, you're trying to narrow down, for this type of setup, I'll risk a little more, but for this one, I'll risk a little less, right?
Right. Yeah, that's basically what's happening, because I like Stan trades one setup, but Krishna, he has like Stan trades not one setup, but he has like certain amount of setups where he wants to go bigger, right? And for him, his main idea is to be like as big as he wants to. And as he told before, he wants to get this like one juicy setup, and he's okay, to wait for this setup the whole day. For me, I have, a little bit more like different, I guess, mentality. So I'm still taking these setups, which are not as juicy as the other ones. So but I have to, to manage my risk there. And if I take them, it just doesn't make any sense if I took like C setup and I just lost A+ risk on it,
Mm. And you mentioned that it's, some traders who will hold until their price targets hit, and for you, what's more comfortable is you just like to take it when when maybe there's like signals, right? There's like signals that show maybe I should take it out here because there's technical here, plus there's a huge bid or whatever it may be. How did you experiment when you first started trading? Did you try holding first and then tried this and then found out that this works for you, or did you just lean towards one right away?
Yeah, actually, I've never tried. I mean, I'm going over these charts every day, and sometimes there is crazy follow through. They just go from top, and the whole day they've just been selling off. But I personally I don't know how to hold, and I'm trying to hold, but I'm just taking off, and then when it keeps going down, I'm already out, and there's nothing left in my position, and I guess it's just like different types of traders, and you're getting used, like your whole system is being built around like who you are as a trader.
Yeah, and it's awesome because I mean you trade different from Krishna. Trades different from Stan, and yeah, everyone is in their own way, like their own type of trader as well as profitable, which is nice. And it just shows like hopefully people who are listening that you could do pretty much whatever you're comfortable with, as long as what you said at the beginning is you really need to limit the mistakes you make. And one of those mistakes is FOMO. One of those mistakes could be sizing in too big, or maybe not cutting your loss. But you got to limit those mistakes, because once you start limiting them, you start to really see what worked for you. And so that's interesting. Now I'm curious though on where you're at today. Today, right now, what are some things that, even though you are now a profitable trader and you're consistent,
Right.
what are some things you're working on that's a challenge for you right now? Because we're always growing and we're always working on things to get better. What are you working on?
So, like at this point, I'm trying, to learn more from Stan's approach, and I'm trying to wait more, to be patient more, to concentrate only on the setups with the like really good follow through, and also like size up in all these setups, because it's pretty much like my main setup I'm watching is overextension, right? It's a reversion to the mean, so I want to get the stop, and then I want to cover it like leave up or like moving averages or at some level, but I want to get this follow through, and it feels like a lot of like mental grind, like the whole day you try and to grind it out mentally, and there is no. I mean, in the beginning, Krishna and Stan were telling us, like, guys, there will be days when you will be making money like so easy. I don't know about this. It's like, I mean, I've experienced good days, but it was never easy, it's always, mental grind, it's always like mental concentration on what's going on. You're trying to zone in, you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to be uncomfortable, you're trying to push more. And, and sometimes it doesn't work out and you're just getting stuck out on like 2 or 3 yards. And, and you pretty much, you had some cushion and you just stepped out on 3 yards and there is no cushion left. And you even like got red on the day, and you're like, oh man, I have to start all over. And you cannot allow yourself to, to slide into this FOMO or whatever, because you will lose everything in the next 10 minutes. So you have to, okay, I need to calm down, reset, restart, go on again. And I mean, sometimes it happens to me, like 5 times a day, I have to restart, reset, go on.
How are you restarting and resetting? Is there anything you're doing?
So, I mean, pretty much, when I was learning about FOMO and I tried, to dig a little bit deeper about the FOMO, what is like FOMO, right? And pretty much FOMO, it's like our shift. There is like certain tipping point when psychologically we shift from being mindful and analytical and creative, we shift to this like fight or flight response, right? And at this point, all our functions, they just cut off. We can only react. Oh, I'm stopped out, but I have to get in. And I'm hitting the bid, and then I'm getting stopped out again, and then I'm thinking, oh, no, it's a loan, and I'm getting loan, and it stops, and all of a sudden, in this moment, in like 3 minutes, I just lost, I don't know, my whole lockout, And so I tried, to eliminate this, and I was, trying to understand why is it happening with me, and what is what I can do to, to be protected. So apparently I found out for myself personally that there are certain breathing techniques. They basically, what they do, they just bring your awareness back to yourself. And I'm just trying to breathe, I would go out, would go for a walk, and I would try, to breathe with my, not lungs, but belly, take long breaths, hold my breath. So there are some really good exercises from the guys who do diving.
Yeah.
And how they actually expand their breathing capabilities. And you can take one exercise, and I'm doing some exercising every day. I'm trying to walk, breathe, hold my breath, and usually it works. Pretty good. It always breathing always brings you back. You just have to stop and start breathing. That's what it is. So that's what I do.
Yeah, no, I like it because that was me today, and I need it on Expa. So not on Expa, on CLSN. That's the freaking God. That was a not a fun trade, but I needed that breathing technique, and that's something you just reminded me because I used to stand up and walk outside, and then come back in, and I feel so much better. So I need to start doing that because that's something that can help me again, and I think it can help a lot of people. I think it's huge that you took some time to kind of figure out what's creating this and how you can be better at it, so you can trade with a clear head. I love.
Yeah, I can send you links. It's basically two exercises.
Send me that.
I'll send you after our conversation.
Yeah, no problem. And for everyone who's listening, I'll make sure to post that on the show notes so you guys can just go to that too if you're interested in that. And something I want to know is you mentioned something about when it comes to entering trades. It sparked my interest. I don't know why, but I thought about pre-market, and I'm curious. Are you, because FOMO and pre-market kind of go hand in hand, right? I think so. And so
why?
I think so only because from my experience, most of my trades that were FOMO were always pre-market. And I always I don't want to say pretty much always I would lose pre-market for me personally. Yeah. And that could be, so I'm curious for you, is pre-market a thing for you or do you avoid it?
I mean, I trade pre-market and after hours, but I trade only if there's some action. So if there's no action, it's not I'd better if there's no really good action, I'd better wait for the open.
What do you mean action?
I mean, speaking about pre-market, right? So something has to gap up, and then it has to gap up higher and higher and higher, and pretty much to get this move down, which I want to get, I want to make sure that enough people were trapped, right? Enough longs were trapped, and that the gap is enough. And sometimes there is just not enough gap, and but on the other days, it would be some really crazy price action, and it just going up higher and higher, and there's no entry point,
So is it more so just simple as that for you, or is it also volume or anything like that?
It's just if there's a setup or not. If there is no setup, I don't care how much it gapped up or whatever. I mean, there should be a setup, it should set up. And to be honest, I had this problem with the offerings because I for example, I anticipate this stock will do the offering, right?
Yeah.
And then on the tape, they started hitting the tape and all these red pins go, and I'm thinking, oh, that's the offering. But I know at this point, that the entry is a chase, the good entry for a setup is gone. But I'm thinking, oh, I'm trading the offering. So I'm hitting, the bottom, and all of a sudden, I mean, there is no offering, and they just slowly squeeze me out. And so now, nowadays, I'm trying, even if I think there will be an offering, I'm trying to wake up early and get the good entry price. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, with chasing, I lost like a lot of money with chasing like offerings, which actually never happened.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm just curious. Before we wrap this up, I want to ask one other question, but I also want to know because you mentioned, pre-market and how you want to get that good entry price. If there's a lot of room for it to come down, depending on the setup, and there always has to be a setup, which you keep mentioning. There always has to be a setup, which I'm super excited for because everyone knows like you got to trade what you're good at and you got to know what that looks like, and you know what it looks like. So that's good to hear. But what I want to know is, without going into details of a setup, because that could be anything. Everyone trades different. What I want to know though is how do you determine, because how do you determine pre-market? How do you trust levels pre-market? I'm just curious for me because I don't trust pre-market levels. Do you find pre-market levels to be trustworthy?
Um, so I guess with the pre-market, I think I should trust them more. But what's happening? I'm just like hitting out on the offer, which actually I know will be able to take my size out. So I'm getting like, yeah, I mean, so that's why I want to get like a setup, because otherwise I'm just getting chopped. There is like offer bid, offer bid, offer bid, and then reverse. And if you didn't get a good entry, then you have to be this person who actually takes out this offer and the next offer and the next offer, and you're getting like squeezed, with no reason, and then it goes without you.
So are you saying you should trust, like for you want to be able to trust more the pre-market like tops so that way you can gauge where you should enter? Is that what, am I understanding that correctly what you're saying?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm working on. I want to get good entry, so the
Okay.
levels I identify for me, I will actually rely on them, as opposed to I'm relying on the level 2, and
Gotcha.
then there's a situation I have to take out the offer, because if I won't take it, there will be no liquidity for me to get out,
Mm.
and I will get squeezed.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, and I will get squeezed, because like pre-market has less liquidity pretty much. So you have to think about this, how you can avoid slippage.
Absolutely. And I'm curious because I want to know, for some, when they hear that you've got profitability in 4 or 8, 9 months, give or take, some would hear that and say, and he go, man, that's fast, right? And some would hear that and say, like, man, that's a long time, right? So I personally think that's fast. So I'm curious on if you could go back, right? If you could go back in time and you could just give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself before you, like right before you joined 7 Points Capital and you're about, you signed the dotted line, you're about to start at 7 Points. What would you tell yourself to make yourself either better trader or get to where you are now a little sooner?
So before I joined 7 Point Capital, um, I wrote an email to Mike Bellafiore, because like I was in SMB DNA program, right? And I asked him, I have like certain cushion, going forward, and do you think I should keep trading like full time, or it would be better for me if I find a job? And he get back to me like really promptly, and he was like really nice in his letter. So basically he told me, like many guys on our trading desk, it takes them a year to get profitable. And I didn't believe him. I thought, like a year I will be able to make it like faster, which I was not able to do it faster. And and this time, it was a lot of struggle, not being able to pay, like constantly finding ways to pay your rent, food. So I just want to, if somebody would have explained it to me, and I would have been like better prepared for this, it would have been like easier, for me as a trader. And also from this perspective, sorry, I have cats and they are just trying to chime in. It's like the other thing, like for many traders, and for myself when I was retail, I had some like money, right, stashed. But I had this like mental problem that I thought, I have to make money, so I have to risk a lot. So I was risking like 300, 500. And I was just like bleeding out money because I was not able to make money. And only when, Krishna and Stan, they put me on this $50 lockout, I realized, that you have to be able to make $20, like to be green like $50, like 4 out of 5 days in a row, and only then you can like size up. Only then you can size. If you cannot do this, don't spend your money, guys. Just keep it for rent, food, and all other stuff. It just doesn't make any sense.
I love that you said that, man. I love it because it's so true what you just said. And it's something that I actually did recently where I found my consistency and I sized up and been sizing up slowly.
Right.
But then I decided like recently in this month, I was like, I want to try a different type of trading. Like I want to go in this kind of lane. And, I actually had a discussion with another trader who knows a couple of you guys. And he highly recommended that I kind of like start over, like size down, and not trade with the confidence I had over here, right? And so I did, and it was hard because my ego was like, I've earned
ego,
this. Yeah. I was like, I've earned to trade this big. Why am I going to trade this small? And I tell you what, man, you hit it. I traded smaller starting over than I did when I first started, right? I started off risking, like when I first started trading, I did exactly what you said. Like I was risking like $100, $200. But now that I've found consistency and then I started over again, like on purpose to like try something else, I just tried. I was like, you know what? Let me just divide, $100 or $200 divided by 6, and let me give myself 6 tries in a day, and it's amazing how you can actually make good money trading really small.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
And every day I was making, $100, $200, $300.
Risking like $20, $30.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that because I'm hoping people can hear this and realize that, what you're really saying is if you can't make money risking $50 for the whole day, so divide that by, you were dividing that by 4 or 5 trades or even 3 trades, depending on the setup. If you can't make money off of that, then stop trading trying to risk $100 per trade, $200, $300, because if you could do it here, you can then slowly grind up and then increase it. And you know what's funny is, at least for me, I'm hoping that I'm starting to realize that you don't have to risk that much, and you can actually make a lot more doing it that way. You can have confidence.
You have confidence, and you're doing the right things. You're not getting shaken out. You're not getting like stuffed out in the wrong. You just following your idea and you let it play out. And that's a great experience.
It is. I'm so glad you brought that up. And look, Peter, I appreciate you so much for being here on the show today. Thank you so much for being here. And if there's any way that someone wants to reach out to you, they want to ask you questions, could you tell them right now what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I think it's my Twitter handle, Peter, Peter Skalon, Scalon. I think this is my Twitter handle. I'm not sure, but I think it is, yeah.
I'll check real quick to make sure.
Yeah, usually I get back to all the messages I have, so...
It's SKALONPETER.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you're good. So don't worry. So, yeah, there you go. So, hey, look, again, thank you, man, for being here today, okay? I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.